Ever since I first watched the animated miniseries Over the Garden Wall, I've made it somewhat of a tradition to always watch it again during the Halloween season. And given there's not much else to do this Halloween, watching it this year certainly feels special. Over the Garden Wall is honestly one of my all-time favourite pieces of animation. While I'm a big fan of animation all round, it's rare to find a gem quite as well crafted as this one. It's a beautifully animated, beautifully told story with a deeper meaning underneath. So today, let's talk about it and analyse what it's really about. The story begins with two brothers, both dressed in odd costumes, lost in a creepy forest. They have no idea where they are or how they got there. All they know is they need to get home. The elder brother Wirt is shown to be an anxious, poetic soul, while younger brother Greg is more naive and mischievous. As it turns out, the two of them are lost in a land known only as the Unknown. They aren't the only inhabitants, however, as along the way they encounter many strange characters in need of some assistance. Notably, they encounter Beatrice, a talking bluebird who used to be a human, who joins them on their journey home, promising to take them to a magic woman named Adelaide for help. She finds them irritating at first, but gradually grows to love them. They also meet a reoccurring character known as the Woodsman, a man who has dedicated his life to forever burning a single lantern, who warns them of a demonic entity known only as the Beast. The Beast is the main antagonist of the series, a shadowy figure with glowing eyes and long antlers who preys upon souls who have lost hope. While on the surface, this may seem like just a story of two brothers lost in a strange fantasy world, the truth is, this is a tale about death, loss, and the afterlife. Spoiler territory ahead. The Unknown is a gorgeous, mysterious autumnal landscape. At times it's beautiful, and at other times it's terrifying. While at first the brothers, or rather older brother Wirt, is confused and refuses to accept the fantastical elements, soon it becomes clear that this is no ordinary place, as we meet anthropomorphic frogs, dancing skeletons, talking horses, girls possessed by demons, and of course monsters. However, one of the strangest things about it is the consistent anachronism. People are all dressed in clothing of different historical American time periods, yet there are clues suggesting that the brothers are from the modern day, like Wirt asking a turkey for a telephone. As well as this, there's something incredibly dreamlike about the whole situation. Wirt and Greg begin the story as though in a dream, confused as to where they are and how they got there, and we watch them go through so many strange and often unexplained situations, though everything is presented as relatively normal. Then, of course, comes episode 9, the one that changes everything, as we see Wirt and Greg before they entered the Unknown. Turns out they are from the relatively modern era. The episode takes place on the night of Halloween, hence why they're wearing weird costumes. The episode sees Wirt desperately trying to retrieve a mixtape he made for his crush Sarah, worrying that she'll reject him for Jason Thunderberger. While having a get-together in a graveyard, the group is scared away by the police, and Wirt and Greg climb over a wall onto some train tracks. As Wirt argues with Greg over his thoughtless behaviour, a train approaches and the two leap out of the way and plunge down into an icy pond. This is the moment where we realise the truth behind the Unknown. Simply put, it is the afterlife. Wirt and Greg are, in reality, slowly drowning in the pond. Whether or not they live or die is likely down to whether or not they give in to the Beast. Every person we meet along the journey trapped in the Unknown is dead. While this is clear for the town of Pottsfield, who are all skeletons and well aware of it, the rest of them seem mostly like lost souls, trapped and confused, and most importantly, with unfinished business. Many of the folks Wirt and Greg end up helping have some desire that remained unfulfilled, from Miss Langtry's heartache for Jimmy Brown, to Quincy Endicott's desire to prove the ghost in his mansion is real, to Beatrice's desire to cure her family's curse, and the Woodsman's desire to keep his daughter's spirit alive. Even Wirt and Greg themselves have unfinished business, with Wirt wanting to be with Sarah and Greg wanting to return the rock he stole. Throughout the series and throughout The Unknown, there's a constant theme of loss and loneliness. Wirt, of course, begins the story alone and without Sarah. Miss Langtry is heartbroken, having seemingly lost her love. Quincy Endicott is alone in his vast mansion. Beatrice is estranged from her family. Auntie Whispers is afraid of being abandoned by Lorna, and the woodsman is forever separated from his daughter. But each one of these characters is able to find love and hope once again, and with the exception of Wirt, each one of them seems to pass on properly as a result. As I previously mentioned, The Unknown constantly has an autumnal aesthetic, but the montage of the characters' happy endings all seem to take place in a winter setting, showing how they have truly moved on. Ultimately, Over the Garden Wall is a dark yet calm and wholesome tale about the peaceful eventuality of death. Perhaps one of the episodes that shows this best is the second. As I said, the town of Pottsfield is the only part of The Unknown where the dead are truly dead and well aware of it. And while it's an incredibly creepy and sinister town, the ending shows it's simply a pleasant place where the dead go to be with one another again. I'm sure you may be thinking at this point, well, okay, that's all well and good, but this is a show for children, right? Is a show about death really suitable? Well, while I've criticised other children's media in the past for featuring adult themes and handling them badly, Over the Garden Wall handles this dark topic perfectly, in a way I feel is suitable for children. Notably, throughout the entire series, the character of Greg more or less represents this free spirit of childhood. While he's clearly a troublemaker, at the same time he is good-hearted, well-meaning, and always unafraid. He's even able to prove a challenge to the Beast, who struggles to break his strong spirit. Despite all the darkness, it's the wholesome nature of Greg, and indeed Wirt, and their relationship with one another and with the other characters, that gives enough warmth to the show to balance it out. Honestly, I'm sure in our lives we've all met kids like Greg. Kids too absent-minded and adventurous to be easily scared. And I'll bet kids like him would appreciate this show. It's interesting to compare Greg to Wirt in this regard. Wirt is your typical anxious teenager trying to distance himself from his overly childish brother, afraid of what others will think. In reality, he could in fact benefit to be more like Greg. While Greg's constant optimism gets him into trouble sometimes, it also proves beneficial, and often makes him a lot braver than Wirt. In the first episode, the woodsman calls out Wirt for not being a better role model for Greg, and he is in some ways proven right, as Wirt later gives up hope and almost becomes the Beast's next target. Greg selflessly switches places with him, and does prove a challenge for the Beast, but it's not enough, and slowly he, like all the Beast's other victims, begins to turn into an Eaglewood tree. Wirt, realising he does need to be a better brother, fights his way through a blizzard to save him. Wirt manages to defeat the Beast using his own wits, but also kindness and optimism just like Greg. He figures out that it's the Beast's soul in the lantern, rather than that of the woodsman's daughter. While he is at last able to stand up to the Beast, he leaves the choice down to the woodsman, who ends the Beast once and for all, and is reunited with his daughter because of it. Having supposedly suffered for years in the unknown, he is at last able to move on. Whenever people speak about how animation for children can still be very well crafted and artistic, Over the Garden Wall will sometimes be brought up as an example, and for good reason. Not only is it visually amazing, but the story is far, far deeper than what's on the surface, and it can appeal to both children and adults. It's a tale of accepting death, moving on from loss, reuniting with those we love, and, fittingly, how childhood innocence isn't a bad thing, and it can provide us with kindness, optimism, and bravery. I have heard the theories that this story is effectively a modern-day retelling of Dante's Inferno, and honestly, it's quite a sound theory, especially given the theme of people giving up hope and being turned into trees. If nothing else, Over the Garden Wall is pretty much the ideal series to watch over Halloween, in my opinion. Its warm wholesomeness and light humour is often enough to make you feel like a kid again, the autumnal backgrounds are a beautiful reflection of October scenery, And of course, the dark themes and stories are certainly fitting for the spooky season. Thanks for watching the video. So, we're ending Halloween Horror Month there with one of my favourite animations, and if you're growing tired of me being so positive all the time, fear not, as I do have some less optimistic reviews planned for November. In particular, I hope to do my first Patreon poll requested review soon, so check out the link below, and if you donate £10 a month, you too can vote in that poll. Otherwise, like, share and subscribe and all that jazz, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Goodbye!